Hey, Shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ bless. It's another 15 minutes with your captain. I'm Captain Shafal, and today we're going to deal with I'm a single sister who's my head. All right, now I'm going to start in the book of Jeremiah 17 and verse 4. All right, let's find out.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
So the Most High already prophesied that we, in these last days, we will discontinue from our heritage. Go ahead.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
So it's prophesied that we will discontinue from our heritage that the Lord gave us. Why? And that's why we have the question today is, who is my head as a single sister? All right. Go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. Because the Lord said we kindled a fire in his anger. All right. How did that happen? And how did we discontinue from our heritage? And why do we have these questions today? Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So the Most High said, if we don't listen to him, go ahead.
To observe and to do all his commandments.
To do all his commandments, go ahead.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
The Most High prophesied that all these curses will come upon us because why? We broke his commandments. We turned away from his commandments. That's why we discontinued from our heritage today. Jump down to verse 47.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 47.
Go ahead.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
So the Most High said, because we didn't serve him with joyfulness for the abundance of all things. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
We ended up serving our enemies. We ended up going into captivity. Go ahead.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger,
for food,
and in thirst,
for water,
and in nakedness,
for clothing. Go ahead.
And in want of all things.
In want of all things. All our understanding we got from what? Our enemies. Why? Because we broke God's commandments. And he said he's going to send nations against us. Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
And that's what happened to our people. We went into slavery. We had yokes of irons around our necks. Read.
Until he have destroyed thee.
Understand, we're destroyed as a nation of people. So coming back to our repentance, that's why we have questions like this. Who is my head as a single sister? Because all these things we knew. We knew all these things. We knew the order of the house. We knew the structure of the house before we went into slavery. Before the Lord sent our enemies against us. All right, now I'm going to go into a book. It's called The Making of a Slave by Willie Lynch. All right, go to page 29. Read the title.
Yes, sir. The Making of a Slave by Willie Lynch. Page 29, the breaking process of the African woman.
So it says the breaking process of the African woman, who really is the Israelite woman. All right. Jump down to we have
reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state.
So Esau said that he reversed. Read it again.
We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state.
Go ahead.
She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male.
So understand, he said she would have a strong dependency on her husband, on the males, but they've reversed the roles. All right, they've broken the roles. Read on.
And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring.
You see that? And that the male offspring was independent. She could have a dependency on her male. Go ahead.
And would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance.
Mm-hmm.
We reverse nature.
So nature has been reversed, or our understanding of the house structure has been reversed. Go ahead.
By burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death.
Go ahead.
All in her presence.
It was done all in the presence of the women. Go ahead.
By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed.
That's the thing. They destroyed the male image, and they still do it today, because we still have singers like Beyonce saying that independent women, they're still pushing the same thing today. Go ahead.
The ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state.
Go ahead.
In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles.
You see that? The male and the female are being raised in reversed roles. The mothers are taught the females to be males or strong, and the men to be weak and effeminate. It's going to say that. Read on.
For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent.
Mentally weak. They've raised the men to be mentally weak. Go ahead. And dependent.
But physically strong.
But physically strong. Why? Because they had to work in the fields. Go ahead.
Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to be psychologically independent.
You see that? Train the females to be psychologically independent. That's why sisters today think that they can be independent. They don't need the men, or they look down on the men because the male image has been destroyed. Right? It's being destroyed in the media. It's been destroyed in songs. It's been destroyed through all things, all right? Why? To disrupt our houses. Go ahead.
What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared.
You got the woman out front and the males behind scared. Jump down to by killing.
By killing, page 31. By killing of the protective male image and by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the nigger male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever. Unless a phenomenon occurs.
It says this axis is going to spin continuously forever unless a phenomenon occurs. Go ahead.
And reshifts the position of the male and female slaves.
Something has to come and reshift the position of the male and female slaves. And what is that? That is the true understanding of this Bible. That we are the Israelites and the order that the Most High has set up for the household and for us as a nation of people. All right. So let's go to 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 1. Let's start there. Because remember, we've been discontinued from our heritage. So now we have to use the Bible, which is our heritage, and get a true understanding of how the house is supposed to be set up and what a woman's role is and who is the head of a single sister. Okay, let's go.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ.
So understand this. Christ is in agreement with what is being read right now. Go ahead.
Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you.
He said, keep the ordinances as I deliver them unto you. Go ahead.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ.
So as a man, our head is Christ. Go ahead.
And the head of the woman is the man.
And the head of the woman is the man. So understand that, single sisters, your head is the man. Go ahead.
And the head of Christ is God.
And the head of Christ is God. So what is that? That is order. You got the Most High God, you got Christ, you got men, and you got women underneath that. That is the order. That's what we've been discontinued from. Our slave masters and our enemies have reversed the role. They've shifted the roles. That's why we're confused today as to who is our heads or the order structure of us as a nation of people. All right, go to Titus 2 and verse 3. Because everything starts in the home, what we're taught in the home. All right, Titus 2, start at verse 3.
The book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 3. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things.
So the aged women are teachers of good things. Remember, Esau, when we read the Willie Lynch letters, the aged women or the women were teaching the male and female in reverse roles. All right, go ahead.
That they may teach the young women to be sober.
Their job was to teach the young women to be sober. Go ahead.
To love their husbands.
To love their husbands. Love and reverence their husbands. All right. That's something that had to be taught in the house. We wasn't taught that because a lot of us grew up in single parent home where the mother was independent. So she taught her daughters to be independent. A lot of our single mothers with male childs, a lot of them are what? Effeminate. All right. Emotionally weak. All right. Read on.
To love their children.
And to love their children. Understand that. That was something that was supposed to be taught in the house structure from young. So we carry that all the way through into our adult life. Go to Sirach 17 and verse 11. So remember, the phenomenon is happening right now. All right, the roles are being reversed and we're getting a clear understanding of how things should be set up as a nation of people. Go ahead.
The book of Sirach, chapter 17, verse 11. Beside this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage.
You see that our heritage is these commandments and it was given to us as a nation of people. And that's what we have to come back to. All right, from there, let's go to Genesis 2 and verse 18. So Genesis is in the beginning of the Bible. Let's see what was set up from the very beginning. All right.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him.
So the helpmeet was who? The women. The woman was made from the very beginning to be what? A helpmeet to the man, not to be over the man. All right. You was made from the very beginning to be a helpmeet to the man, meaning what? The man was over you from the very beginning. Genesis 3 and verse 16.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband.
You see that your desire should be to your husband. All right, go ahead.
And he shall rule over thee.
So what's that? That's a man ruling over a woman, being the head of a woman. That's in the house. All right, that's in the house. That's in the marriage. And growing up as children, we're supposed to have seen that. The example of the mother being in subjection to the father. The father figure being the male, the strong, the protector in the house. All right. From there, go to Colossians 3 and verse 18. So we have to start with the house structure. All right. That's where we have to start from, the house structure. What do we learn in the house? Or what should we be teaching in the house to break that cycle and this phenomenon to happen? Go ahead.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 18. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands.
So from the very beginning, sisters, you're supposed to have seen your mothers submit to their husbands. All right, go ahead.
As it is fit in the Lord.
Okay. First Timothy 2 and verse 12.
The book of 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man.
You see that a woman's not supposed to usurp authority over the man. Go ahead.
But to be in silence.
Read on.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve.
Adam was formed first and then Eve. All right. Eve was always under Adam from the very beginning. So that's the structure from the beginning. All right. So from there, go to Numbers 30 and verse 3. What I'm going to show you is all throughout, sisters, you always had a man over you. All right. From the very beginning. All right. Numbers.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 3. If a woman also vow a vow unto the Lord and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house.
So this is a sister, single sister, in her father's house. All right, go ahead.
In her youth.
In her youth. Go ahead.
And her father hear her vow and her bond, wherewith she hath bound her soul.
Go ahead.
And her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand.
So if the father hear her vow a vow in her father's house, and he holds his peace, then her vow should stand. Go ahead.
And every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand.
Go ahead.
But if her father disallow her in the day.
If the father disallows the vow, go ahead.
In the day that he heareth, not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. And the Lord shall forgive her.
All right, so read that one more time again.
Verse 5. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth, not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand.
So the father could disallow her vows, being in her father's house. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall forgive her.
Go ahead.
Because her father disallowed her.
You see that? That's the power that the father had over the daughter. Read on.
Verse 6. And if she had at all an husband.
Now, if she left her father's house and she's married, go ahead.
When she vowed or uttered aught out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, then her vows shall stand.
Go ahead.
And her bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand.
Come on.
But if her husband disallow her.
You see that now? If the husband disallowed. So that was a sister being unmarried in her father's house. And now we got the sister leaving the father's house, being married to her husband. The husband had the same power as who? As the father, to disallow the vow. Go ahead.
On the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect. And the Lord shall forgive her.
You see that from the very beginning. So we read from Genesis, the woman was made to be a helpmeet, a support to the husband. The husband was going to rule over the woman. That's from the very beginning. A woman always had a head over her. All right. From there, go to Genesis 29 and verse 16.
The book of Genesis, chapter 29, verse 16. And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah.
So this is a father with 2 daughters. Go ahead.
And the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel.
So our forefather Jacob, he loved Rachel. Go ahead.
And said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter.
And he was willing to serve 7 years for Rachel. Go ahead.
And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her.
Go ahead.
And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her.
You see that? So Laban had power over his daughter. You couldn't just roll up and take his daughter. The father had power over the daughter to give away his daughter. Jump down to verse 26.
Verse 26.
So when you read the history, Laban had some trickery going on. All right? Read that.
Verse 26. And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also, for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years.
So he had to serve another 7 years for Rachel. Go ahead.
And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also.
Okay, so go to Tobit 7 and verse 13. Tobit 7 and 13. So from the very beginning, a male was always over the women. All right?
The book of Tobit, chapter 7, verse 13. Then he called his daughter, Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias.
You see that? The father gave her to be wife to Tobias. All right? The father gave away his daughter because the father had what? Power over his daughter. Is that it?
Saying, Behold, take her after the law of Moses, and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them.
And he blessed them. All right. So the father had power to give away his daughter. Go to Titus 1 and verse 5. So now, being in the truth, who is your head in the truth? The males are still over the sisters. All right. Nothing has changed. The phenomenon is happening where the Bible is restructuring us and giving us back our heritage and setting things back in order again. Read that.
The book of Titus, chapter 1, verse 5. For this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city.
Okay, read that one more time.
For this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting.
Things need to be set in order. What needs to be set in order? The structure of the household, the structure of us as a nation of people. Why? Because we've been discontinued from our heritage. Now we're coming back to our heritage. We're setting things back in order. The Bible is setting things back in order. Go ahead.
And ordain elders in every city, as I had appointed thee.
And now we have elders or leaders in every city where we're waking up. There's schools and there's elders set over the schools, or leaders set over the schools. All right. From there, go to 1 Timothy 5 and verse 1. 1 Timothy 5 and 1.
The book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 1. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father.
Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father. Go ahead.
And the younger men as brethren.
You see that? So the elders or the leaders, those that have been set up by the Most High, we are supposed to entreat them as father figures. All right. So as a single sister, who is your head, who's over you, the males are over you, the leaders of the congregations is who we're supposed to be looking at as father figures. All right. Now you might say, you may be a widow. You could be a young widow. You could be an old widow. You had a man over you. Who's over you now? Go to Genesis 38 and verse 11.
The book of Genesis, chapter 38, verse 11. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house.
You see that? Remain a widow at thy father's house. So once you were married, you had a man or your husband over you. Now you're a widow. You've got to go back to your father's house. Read it one more time.
Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house.
Remain a widow at thy father's house, meaning what? There's still a man over you, even as a widow. Even as you being single as a widow, a male's supposed to be over you. All right? So from the very beginning, from the house to leaving the house to having a husband or being single, there's still a man over you. So as a single sister, the males are over you, the leaders of the congregation, and treat them as father figures. And with that, 15 minutes with the captain.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models.